Ashes of Creation. Let's see what we got here.
So after the longest 43-day wait filled with doubt and second guessing as Intrepid remained silent working on this highly anticipated MMORPG, we've finally been relieved, and 2024 has started with one of the most intense live streams we've had so far. And today, I'm going to break down this nearly 2-hour showcase into a neat little package for your smooth brain to absorb. But
I had no idea ships are a thing also here. And he's doing the intro, so I'll be the good boy here, and I will just flat out skip it because it's kind of cringe.
Because we were introduced to 3 major showstoppers today. The first is, of course, our beautiful Caravan PvP showcase. The second was the introduction of a large number of external testers for the first time in Alpha 2 history. And lastly, we finally...
Now, I'm not gonna lie, the Caravan PvP and whatnot seems kind of cool. But I can already predict the potential outcome of this, unless whole guilds defend caravans, obviously. It's going to be like this. There are going to be literally 10, 20, 30, 40 people just running around constantly trying to destroy caravans. Because the coolest part about Ashes of Creation is the fact that everything's going to be player-driven. And that's honestly cool. That's a really big selling point. Everything is going to be player-made from start to finish. There are going to be some drops and whatnot, but you get the point. It's going to be a very much player-driven thing with a lot of things to do. And I'm kind of worried how is this going to play out. Maybe we're going to get an EVE Online situation where giant mega corporations are going to be formed because, well, if sending caravans over is going to be super profitable and whatnot, then there's going to be a lot of people trying to destroy these caravans to claim their loot and whatnot, obviously, right? How many people are going to be willing to defend caravans versus taking the opportunity to actually, raid them? Are we going to end up with a situation where, like, 80 people are guarding one single caravan as it goes through, and they're just hoping that they get attacked by less than 80 people if they get attacked? I really want to see how this interaction is going to work out, because it would be wild.
Finally got to see how the rafts function on the surface of the water, and you bet your ass I'm going to be gushing over all of these subjects throughout the remainder of this month. So make sure you're subscribed, goddammit. Now, with all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin, shall we?
Okay.
Okay, so right off the bat, the reminders were nothing special, so we'll gloss over them as usual because this showcase was jam-packed with systems and mechanics that I want to get into. We were, of course, in the Riverlands again this month, showing off the location around the Highwayman Hills between the Winstead and Miraleth nodes. However, this month, we were joined by a bunch of Phoenix Initiative backers for Ashes of Creation to help with the showcase. Roughly 40 or 50 players were present, and it's nice to finally see some players get into this world. Stephen started off by explaining the premise of the showcase, which is the as aforementioned Caravan PvP, and as you can see, the raid before our eyes are eagerly waiting to begin their attack. Sitting on the ridge overlooking the incoming caravan, Stephen initiates the attack and the chaos begins. Now, I will play this whole battle for you because it really highlights a couple of important aspects.
Yeah, you see, this is going to be the problem with this. Like, what's the counter? This is also poorly coordinated. Because let's look at this again, okay? How much damage does this actually inflict?
This whole battle.
Okay, so there's one guy.
For you because it really highlights a
300, another one. Okay, so essentially what we are seeing here is that it took 4 shots to just delete that guy, right? More coordinated companies are gonna actually mark targets and if you can just sit in camo like this and wait, more coordinated companies are literally gonna take out half the defenders from an ambush. But it's cool that they have ambushes because usually it's like, just charge at them and blah. Yeah, it's cool that they have ambushes. That's really cool, in fact. But, you kind of get the point. That is kind of also bad and weak. Also, especially if it's a hill terrain and everyone's using range. Like, defending caravans is gonna be hard if this is actually how it plays out in reality. Because this is a setup, like everyone knows where everyone is and blah blah blah. But you kind of get the point. In the real game, this is gonna be 10 times more aggressive and well coordinated.
Important aspects about this MMORPG's open development. Spell effects are
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. The fact that they just jump off the point of their elevation and advantage is peak perfection, gamers.
still quite egregious, and it was addressed by Steven as to why. You see, optimization, LOD refinement, spell polish, and just the overall presentation has not been worked on yet. They've said this in the past many times, but Ashes of Creation is in a very functional state, not a playable one. That includes these spells, the textures, the quality of the overall game, and the UI will get...
This is the biggest concern about Ashes Creation. I'm talking about this constantly. If the running animations are bad, if the attack animations are bad, people are going to quit the game. There is no such thing as a game that has survived the test of time longer than a month of being even remotely relevant that has had bad animations for movement or basic attacks. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't exist.
Polished as the Alpha 2 approaches, but for now, everything is set up so that...
Oh, Jesus Christ, that... Bro, Clover got avacadabed into ashes right there, bruh.
Team can show systems and listen to our feedback to see if they're on
Poor
the right
Clover.
path. And I think this month, they continued to show that they are indeed moving in the right direction. Once the battle had ended, we were presented with a couple of new mechanics. Firstly, the contents of the caravan being spread across the ground in the form of these crates. Two types of crates to be exact, a commodities crate as shown by the green symbol and a material crate as shown by the black symbol. And as they demonstrated, you can loot these crates for the items inside, but this is where the system starts to get a little bit more in-depth. You see, you get way more materials and profit if you take the unopened crates and sell them whole at a node. This incentivizes two important factors: continuous risk of having items out in the field, and the push and pull between attackers and defenders trying to win over these rewards. In order to take the crates whole, though, you need to summon a second caravan. This is demonstrated pretty clearly and mimics exactly what we saw during October's caravan stream, except it's actually out in the field instead.
This is gonna be a mess. When the game comes, this is gonna be an absolute mess. Bruh. They're gonna have to make some really sweeping changes.
Of in the confines of the node. They explain that the time it takes to summon a caravan out in the field is determined by the distance that they are away from it, and during this whole time, the caravan and the bandits are at risk of being attacked by those defenders again. Whilst they were waiting for their caravan to arrive, they discussed the intent for the progression paths involving the hunting and defending of caravans. However, this is obviously still work in progress. They did tease the ability to see things like peeking inside crates before you open them, or being able to see much smaller segments of enemies' HP, so the whole PvP systems just seem pretty involved overall. When the caravan arrives, Steven displayed the collection mechanic, which really highlights the importance of using a caravan to take these goods back to a node. Overall, the whole UI is extremely intricate and well designed, and I'm quite impressed with the progress they've made in this field. Obviously, the system is inspired a lot by Arcage's open world trade packs, but this particular iteration is quite unique to Ashes of Creation, and
bruv, just click fast. Come on.
Therefore has a lot involved both mechanically and balance-wise with every step of this. And it only gets more in-depth from here. For you see, moving down the road a little, the team began the process of showing us the land to water transition, and this was absolutely fantastic. Not only is Ashes of Creation featuring insanely well-designed water physics, which we'll talk about in a moment when we touch upon the water current system, but
the water does look kind of nice, not gonna lie, yeah.
Well, transition itself is extremely immersive and well designed. It pretty much follows Arcade 1-for-1 again, meaning after a period of time, the caravan slowly deconstructs through a temporary scaffolding, converts to a raft, and then gets dropped into the water. As you can see, the arcade clip
Cool.
and this clip here, they're pretty much the exact same. But this is where the fun really starts. During their adventure, the team ran into a bunch of trouble at multiple points.
You know when the fun starts, boys? When phase 2 of SOD comes out. Maining Shadow Priest instead of a Rogue. First time in my life, boys. It's gonna be amazing. That's what's gonna be amazing.
First, during the actual building of the raft, second, during a choke point whilst on the water, and finally, when they landed on a beach to...
It looks like they kind of failed miserably here, but that's okay. But dude, there is no way you can defend. It's a joke. You can't defend. Like, in a game, this is undefendable. If your opponents are on the top, you're done. You're done. They just, bruh, it's not happening.
Choke point whilst on the water, and finally, when they landed on a beach to transition back into a land vehicle, they were PvP'd the whole way by that original defending team. And this really highlights the
Ooh, that was a good attack. Look at that. Look at that. Look at this.
team. And
Look. Oh, that is a good skill. That looks nice. Now, you see? This is why I'm pretty hopeful for this game. Now, admittedly, I am a 100% believer when this comes out, and this will most likely 100% come out, and it's going to be decent, at the bare minimum. Okay? Valkiller, don't know, but will this entertain you for maybe a month or more? Hell yeah. But in any case, what was I supposed to say? Oh, yeah. Dude, it's going to be a shit show when people are actually let in. Like... anything that the devs have taught so far, it's gonna be instantaneously obliterated by well-oiled guilds in probably days. It's literally gonna be a process of probably days. The theory craft alone is gonna wreck this game before it's actually released. So it's gonna be absolutely wild to see how this ends up being. Again, I expect absolute chaos in a maximum of a week's time when this game gets released, because it's gonna be wild. Okay?
really highlights the important risk versus reward aspects of this caravan gameplay loop. But let's put PvP aside for a moment. What I want to briefly mention is the water currents, because as you can see, this raft is actually physics-based, and the current in this river actually pushes this raft ever so slightly. It's pretty damn interesting, and I'm excited to see the future of the ocean-based content. Now, after one final skirmish on the road, the team arrived safely at Miraleth, and Stephen demonstrated the process of offloading the cargo. First, he showed the material.
You know what would be actually cool? It's the fact that you don't actually go and offload it in a village, because it kind of doesn't make too much sense that, you know, these guys just kill the previous owners of the cargo and then they can sell it in a village without any problems. You would think that there should be some sort of slight deterrent, or, you know, a different place at least to actually go and dump the cargo. You would think that that would at least happen, right? But seemingly no. Also, I wonder how efficient it's actually going to be to... I think the meta is going to be like this. There's going to be two potential metas. One is people just out scouting or bot scouting in the open world in all the locations where people typically create caravans. And the moment it's created, just a giant Zerg comes at them and just instantaneously picks up the loot and doesn't form a new caravan. Or the alternative, where people are trying to scout for a caravan that's almost near the final destination, and then ambushing it right before it gets into the city in safety. I think that's gonna be what happens. Would be kind of crazy.
He showed the material crates, which has an interesting real-life time-based unpacking mechanic that is currently balanced around real-life days worth of time, whilst also showing us the process of selling commodities to a vendor as well, which is exactly the same as what we saw during that previous caravan showcase. However, the super interesting part is when they show us the interaction between stolen goods. Stolen goods are what commodities become after the crate has been been opened in the field instead of repacked into a caravan to sell whole again. And these stolen goods cannot be sold to any old vendor. They have a value of 0. Fortunately for Stephen and the team though, the node has a black market vendor, and this allows them to sell stolen goods for a fixed
Okay, that's an alternative.
price, concluding the showcase in its entirety. Now, the Q&A segment usually gets skipped in this particular breakdown, but I really didn't want to skip it this month because of the importance of this system. Unfortunately though, all the questions were concerns around balance related to a pre-alpha game. Okay, so concluding this
Yeah, probably.
month's live
Makes
stream,
sense.
we got a quick studio update with a speech about the current layoffs in the industry, but that's
Nice. Get rid of the fat, get rid of the useless ones.
far too heavy for today's breakdown, so I will move on to the brief art update, which was unfortunately not very interesting. We took a look
Nice. Well, anyway, that was our boy Knock with Ashes of Creation. The copium-filled man himself. I think it's cool. I think it's nice. Anyway, Ashes of Creation looks promising. Looks promising. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sensei. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.